Good afternoon, everybody, councillors, members of the public and staff. We've just completed the annual general electors meeting, but we will now commence with the ordinary council meeting for December 2025. In the spirit of reconciliation, the Shire of Derby West Kimberley acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout the Shire and the continued connection to the land, waters and community. The Shire would like to pay our respects to the people, the culture and the elders past and present, and the continuation of cultural, spiritual and educational practices of Aboriginal people. I'll read a disclaimer. As most are aware now, we live stream. This meeting will be video recorded and live streamed on the Shire's YouTube channel, with the exception of confidential items and periods of adjournment as determined by the presiding member. By being present at this meeting, members of the public consent to the possibility that their voice and or image may be live streamed to the public. Recordings will also be made available on the Shire's YouTube channel and official website following the meeting. The official record of the meeting will be written minutes kept in accordance with the Local Government Act of 1995 and any relevant regulations. I declare the meeting open at 5:31 and take this opportunity to make the announcement of visitors and welcome members of the public here to our OCM for December. We have in the room councillors, President, myself, Peter McCumsty, Deputy President on my right, Councillor Chrissa O'Meara, Councillor Trish Galt, Councillor Adam Cornish, Councillor Jeff Davis. On the left we have Councillor Elliot Money, Councillor Laurie Shaw, Councillor Leah Umberguy, and online we have Councillor Val Ross. Staff in the room: Tamara Clarkson, Chief Executive Officer, Jill Brazil, Director of Corporate Services, Luke Lawrence, Director of Community Planning, Maria O'Connell, Coordinator Communications and Media, Ryan Balderson, Executive Assistant to the CEO, Santana Rose, Manager Community Development, Kylie Tame, Manager Development Services, and Telia Riley, Coordinator Governance and Risk. Moving to item 4 on the agenda, attendance via electronic means. As mentioned, Councillor Val Ross is online. Applications for leave of absence, we have nil. Responses to previous public questions taken on notice, we have 1, and I will hand over to the CEO to respond to those questions.
Thank you. Due to the time frames between the November and December ordinary council meeting, our responses presented tonight to a statement and questions that were asked on the 27th of November, and these will be sent to the resident following this meeting. Following XTC Ellie in January 2023, several roles were established in Fitzroy Crossing and Derby to facilitate community recovery. These positions and associated programs were funded by the Commonwealth Government and administered by Department of Fire and Emergency Services as part of the Disaster Recovery Funding Arrangements WA program. All employment contracts had fixed end dates that were dependent on the continuation of this funding. In January 2025, the Shire became aware that funding would cease by 30 June, and as such, arrangements were made to ensure that all recovery staff were made aware their contracts would be finalised as per the completion dates within their original offer, and the Shire would endeavour to make other suitable arrangements for employment if roles and financial resources allowed for it. This occurred with in-person meetings, followed up by formal written correspondence. Following a review of those services and organisational needs, a hybrid library officer customer services position was proposed to ensure continued service for the Fitzroy Crossing community. This position was offered to you for reasons you mentioned in an email dated 22nd of May 2025. You declined this role. A modified 6-month contract for a position with adjusted expectations was offered to ensure continued service while the Shire progressed a formal service review. Fitzroy Crossing has historically been difficult to attract and retain staff. Despite multiple advertisement avenues, staff from Derby have on several occasions attended Fitzroy Crossing to provide training and support, ensuring that service continues. Service delivery at Fitzroy Crossing and Derby is currently being reviewed, with several options under consideration to ensure services can be delivered while maintaining staff safety. With one staff member being on leave and one staff member on unplanned personal leave, this resulted in the manager being the only office-based employee on site. To ensure safety and wellbeing of staff, the Shire has recently implemented an internal working alone procedure, ensuring that this does not occur. This resulted in the library in Derby closing on Saturday mornings for wet season, and unfortunately, the Fitzroy Crossing Visitor Centre being closed temporarily until this workplace health and safety risk can be rectified. Historically, there have been a number of incidents where staff safety has been at risk. As wet season sees a reduction in tourism, the priority for the Shire is our local residents and access to service. This is being considered as part of the customer service review for both Derby and Fitzroy Crossing. Community consultation has not been conducted, as this is a temporary staff issue that is magnified by staff leave, the wet season and the end of year break. The CEO, together with senior members of staff, have considered service delivery for the Shire as a whole. It has become apparent over time many services have been transferred to the Shire to deliver without any financial contributions. This is an unsustainable position. Rates are calculated by multiplying the valuation of your property by the applicable rate in the dollar endorsed by Council when the budget is adopted for the relevant rating year. The calculation is rates levied equals rates in the dollar times property value. The valuation of a property used to determine your rate charge is set by the Valuer General at Landgate. This is a separate organisation. The Valuer General assigns non-rural properties a gross rental value and rural properties an unimproved value. Properties with a GRV valuation in the Shire are reviewed on a 5-year cycle. Local governments deliver a number of core services for the community. These include waste collection, road maintenance, planning and building services, environmental health, including food and water safety, ranger services and animal management, asset management, community development, library services, and recreational facilities, including sports field and parks. These services continue for Fitzroy Crossing and the Shire as a whole. The Shire is currently undertaking a comprehensive independent service review. This will support a holistic approach to budget and workforce planning in 2026-27. This plan will be endorsed by Council prior to implementation. The Shire is working with Marrawarra, a local Aboriginal community-controlled organisation, to share the space in the Fitzroy Crossing Visitor Centre. This will ensure community have access to services including the Greyhound bus service and tourism information. Local governments support residents by providing essential services. These services aim to improve local quality of life, ensuring community wellbeing and fostering local identity. The Department of Housing and Works directly manages the housing in the 54 remote Aboriginal communities within the Shire. As part of its funded responsibilities, the Department of Housing and Works, in partnership with Aboriginal people and across government, to deliver long-term, sustainable services that improve and create greater opportunities in regional and remote areas. Evidence-based decision-making regarding service delivery will include a needs-based service model dependent on understanding the unique needs of diverse demographic and accessibility for people with disabilities. The Local Government Act 1995 empowers Council to provide services for the good governance of the district. Levels of service are determined by Council by way of budget priorities and aligned to the strategic community plan. The Shire is currently in the process of reviewing the 2021-2031 strategic planning documents, and Council will adopt the 10-year Council plan in March 2026. The Local Government Act also sets out under section 3.18 performing of executive functions. A local government is to administer its local laws and may do all other things that are necessary or convenient to be done for or in connection with performing its functions under this Act. In performing its executive functions, a local government may provide services and facilities. A local government is to satisfy itself that services and facilities that it provides integrate and coordinate, so far as practicable, with any provided by the Commonwealth, state or any public body, and do not duplicate to an extent that the local government considers inappropriate services or facilities provided by the Commonwealth, the state or any other body or person, whether public or private, and ensures that these are managed efficiently and effectively. We continue to regularly review our services and programs to ensure not only equity for residents and ratepayers, but to ensure responsible financial management and sustainability. Section 3.18 clearly defines the role of local government and not duplicating existing services, especially when existing service providers are in this space already. As the Shire continues its journey to reconciliation with the development of its first Reconciliation Action Plan in 2026, we are committed to ensuring decision-making aligns with the Closing the Gap targets. We recognise that 64% of our population identifies as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander. We also recognise the importance of engaging with community in decisions that impact them. Closing the Gap Target 17, people have access to information and services enabling participation in informed decision-making regarding their own lives, guides this approach. To achieve this, the Shire has sought expressions of interest from local Aboriginal community-controlled organisations to collaborate and partner with the Shire to best deliver services. This partnership model ensures that services are not only effective but culturally informed, community-led and responsive to local needs. By embedding these principles into our Reconciliation Action Plan, the Shire aims to strengthen trust in our community, empower Aboriginal voices and create lasting impact that strengthens our Shire. Transitioning some of those programs and services to more appropriately qualified providers, both in Fitzroy Crossing and Derby, will enable the Shire to return to its core strategic role in service delivery, focusing on advocacy and long-term outcomes rather than direct program delivery. Further correspondence will be sent to you in relation to breaches of Code of Conduct for Shire of Derby West Kimberley employees. Thank you.
Thanks, CEO. We move to item 7, public time, 7.1 public question time and 7.2 public statements. Public question time, I have in front of me a question raised by James Buchanan Pillsbury. Question to Council. James?
Yeah, thanks, Peter. There are numerous large trees being cut down all around Derby, including a big boab in Ashley Street that must have been around 1,000 years old. Does the council have any means to stop this wanton destruction?
Hand to the CEO.
Thank you, through the chair. The Shire did remove one boab tree on Ashley Street that was diseased and a community safety risk. The other trees that are currently being removed within our Shire are on private property and they are out of our control. The Director of Infrastructure has worked with tree removal companies to apply to remove boabs, and so as a result, Shire has approved several that damage fence lines and under power lines. The works are currently being undertaken by the Department of Housing and Works, so we do not have a jurisdiction in this space. However, I've also been made aware that another question will be raised this evening that will address some of those concerns.
Thank you, CEO. And that submission, I believe, will be made by the Honourable Robin Chappell. Thanks, Robin.
These old bones, I do apologise. Congratulations, councillors, on being elected, and this is mostly my first presentation to you guys. I represent the Derby Landcare Group. I'm their chairperson, and originally the town had a tree retention policy in both town plan number 7, get this right way round, number 7 and then number 5. when they came to do town plan number 9, we engaged with 2 of the consultants. That was Exuban and also, I can't remember what the other name of the other group was, and they said they were going to come back to town and listen to us. We had email trails saying making appointments. They never turned up. We made a submission to town plan number 9, which unfortunately went to an email address which was on the website, which went to the Shire, but nobody in the Shire was checking that website, so they never got our submission. So eventually Town Plan 9 had no protection of native trees, cultural trees or whatever in it. So we're proposing that the Shire either makes a local law or an amendment to the Town Planning Act number 9 to reinstate the protection of those trees in the town. I have sent you a letter which explains what we're proposing, but it's up to the Shire really to determine whether they want to have protection of the trees in the town. And there are 2 ways you can do it, as I say, either a local law or amending the town planning scheme. The amending the town planning scheme is interesting in so much as if it's contained within the town plan, it is not able to be enforced legally, which is a really interesting. I've checked with the West Australian Local Government Association, and if it goes in as a local law, it goes in quite quickly and has regulatory power to actually bring a stop to wanton destruction. So my recommendation is the Shire should enact a local law. You have 10 local laws at the moment. Councils on average have between about 10 and 12, so an extra local law is not significant. Both applications, if it is through an amendment to Town Plan number 9 or a local law, have to have public consultation and input. So if you decide to go down either of those paths, then we would be more than happy to work with you to help you develop that strategy. Please read the letter, and if you need to get back to me, please do.
Thank you, Honourable Robin Chappell. Appreciate that, and also the interest of yourself and the Derby Landcare Tree group in what essentially is, I think, something that most of our local community have a very keen interest on. We will pursue that in the new year and keep you informed as we progress. I would suggest, without foreshadowing anything specific at the moment, that we would get an officer report to Council at the earliest opportunity, which, as I've indicated, is in the new year. Thank you very much. Item 8, disclosures of interest. I have 2. The first one is from Councillor Val Ross, who, as I said previously, is online. The nature of the interest is financial. Therefore, Val will need to go offline when we get to the item. And it's based on the fact that she's employed by Ngunga Early Years program, of which she gets a financial return. So we will deal with that item when we get to it in the agenda. The second declaration of interest is in relation to item 15.2, and it is from Councillor Trish Galt. Impartiality? The nature of the interest is impartiality. In regards to the item, we will address that at the time, but Councillor Galt has a direct involvement in the club that's seeking some dispensation from Council. Moving forward with the agenda, councillors. Item 9, petitions, deputations, presentations. We've just had the Honourable Robin Chappell provide that for us. I don't believe there's any others in the room. Confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. The recommendation in my agenda is on page 7, and that is that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held Thursday, 27 November 2025 at the Gary Ely Adult Education Centre in Fitzroy Crossing be confirmed. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please, councillors? Councillor Money, seconded Councillor Shaw. Any questions or clarifications arising out of that? All those in favour, please raise your hands. Moved 9-1, carried 9-1. 9-0, sorry. Keep counting myself out. Item 11, announcements by the presiding person, which is myself, without discussion. Councillors, given the fact that it's only 2 weeks ago since I gave you my last President's report, given the early December OCM, this is quite brief. On Wednesday, 3rd of December, I attended the International Day for Disability at the airport. The event was held at the Derby Airport and was well attended, with over 20 stalls and a very large number of participants. Victor Patrick, one of the main organisers, along with our own Richard Rose, Lindsay Levere and Brad Spring, provided the music for the event, and our Shire events team did an awesome job assisting everyone and serving a most delightful lunch to all. This event is going from strength to strength, and I take the opportunity here to thank all involved, including the stall holders, some of who travelled from Broome for the day. On the evening of the same day, I attended the International Thank a Volunteer event put on by our Shire at the Derby Sportsman's Club. This event was also very well attended, and the appreciation and success of the event was evident in the comments I and other Shire staff received afterwards. Our Director of Communities, Luke Lawrence, gave a welcoming speech, and I welcomed all on behalf of Council. I also thank Councillor Trish Galt for attending the event. The Sportsman's Club provided an excellent meal, and it was a most enjoyable event. On behalf of Council, I'd like to offer congratulations to our events and all Shire staff involved. Along with councillors, other duties performed have included attendance at council iPad training and our council briefing, responding to requests for information from various community members and groups in relation to providing information on best process for them to progress their particular matters with the Shire. And I'm sure the Honourable Robin Chappell will give evidence to that. I've tried to go from home to a shop yesterday, and I think I had 7 street meetings on the way. But that's what it's all about. Your councillor hat is always on. This morning I attended the Holy Rosary final awards assembly and mass. Not being an overly religious person, the roof is still on the Catholic Church, but I do have to say I was absolutely astounded by the numbers that were quoted on the day, of well in excess. In fact, I think half the school achieved a 90% attendance rating, which absolutely was mind-boggling, I thought, and the rest of the school was 80%, so pretty impressive figures. And I think all involved at the school, the principal down, are all to be congratulated. On a slightly sadder note, councillors, I'd like to extend our condolences to the family, staff and friends of the person who lost her life recently in Fitzroy Crossing. That concludes my President's report. Moving on then to item 12, 12.1, Local Emergency Management Committee meeting minutes. And the recommendation for that is contained on page 9 in my agenda. Reads that Council receives the minutes of the Local Emergency Management Committee meeting held on the 4th of November 2025 as attached. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please, councillors? Moved Councillor O'Meara, seconded Councillor Money. Any questions or clarifications arising out of that item? I then put it to the vote. All in favour, raise your hands. Carried 9-0. Reports, Executive Services, item 13, 13.1, Ngunga Early Years Lease of Land and Modification. And Councillor Ross, if you can leave us to consider that, given your declaration of interest, please.
Can I just clarify, Peter, that my interest is more impartiality. I don't actually work for Ngunga Women's. The Early Years Partnership is a three-way partnership, and Ngunga Women's are just the auspicing grantee of the money that's coming in to build that premises. And I work for Department of Health.
The clarification I have available at the moment, Councillor Ross, is that you would have a financial interest, but it's over to you which one you want to declare.
I'm happy to leave the meeting, but I just wanted to clarify that because you mentioned before that I work for Ngunga. And I
okay.
don't.
Thanks, Councillor
But yeah,
Ross.
I'll go offline, and if Ryan can let me in as soon as you're done.
Thank you. Councillors, the item is recommendations contained on pardon me, page 18 on my agenda, and recommendation reads as follows: that Council endorses the modification of the Ngunga Group Women's Aboriginal Corporation lease area, in brackets, reserve 24904, 28 Ashley Street, Derby, to now be 7,000 square metres. Do I have a mover? Councillor O'Meara, seconded. Councillor Money. Any clarifications or questions, councillors? Councillor Money?
Through the chair, just I suppose a statement around the work that's been done in here by the agencies involved. It's just been absolutely gold standard in terms of working with the Minderoo, and a great opportunity for Derby in their early years provision. It was good.
Thank you, Councillor Money. Any other questions or clarifications? I put it to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hands. Carried 8-0. Thank you. If we can get Councillor Ross back online. Hi Val, for your information, the item was moved 8-0 as recommended. Councillors, we move to item 13.2, which is renaming of the King Leopold Ranges to Bulurl di Winami. I hope I've pronounced that reasonably correctly. The recommendation, councillors, is that 1, we endorse the final report presented by Ngunga Consulting to change the name of the King Leopold Ranges locality to Bulurl di Winami, and 2, direct the Chief Executive Officer to provide a copy of the council resolution to Landgate. Do I have a mover for that, councillors? Councillor Davis, seconded. Councillor O'Meara. Any questions or clarifications? There being none, I put it to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hands. Moved 9-0. Item 14, Corporate Services. Item 14.1, Department of Transport Services, Derby. The recommendation is contained on page 6-7 and reads that Council 1 endorses the transfer of the provision of licensing services to an alternative provider in Derby. 2, should a suitable provider not be identified, direct the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate a memorandum of understanding with the Department of Transport to provide counter space to continue the service. And 3, notes the Department of Transport's commitment to licensing services not being compromised or diminished in the community. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Cornish, seconded. Councillor Money. Questions or clarifications? There being none, I put it to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hand. Carried 9-0. Item 14.2, Statement of Financial Activity, November 2025. Recommendation is on page 70 that Council receive the monthly financial management reports incorporating the Statement of Financial Activity for the period ending 30th of November 2025. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Cornish, seconded Councillor Ross. Questions or clarifications? There being nil, I put it to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hands. Carried 9-0. Item 14.3, Accounts for Payment, November 2025. Recommendation is contained on page 99. Recommendation reads that Council accepts the list of accounts for November 2025 paid under delegated authority in accordance with Regulation 13 in brackets 1 of the Local Government in brackets Financial Management Regulations 1996 totalling $3,583,517.84. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Cornish, seconded Councillor Galt. Questions or clarifications, councillors? There being nil, I put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried 9-0. Item 15, Community Services 15.1, Facility Fee Waiver Request from Dambimangari Aboriginal Corporation. The recommendation in my agenda is on page 122, that Council agree to waive the additional fee of $3,500 for the extension of the Derby Airport Function Centre on the 11th of September 2025 for Dambimangari Aboriginal Corporation. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Davis, seconded Councillor Galt. Any questions or clarifications, councillors? All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. Carried 9-0. Item 15.2, User Agreement 2026-27 Fusion Combat Academy. Recommendation is that Council endorses the discounted fees applicable to the user agreement that will be entered into with Fusion Combat Academy Incorporated. 2, approves entering into a user agreement with Fusion Combat Academy Incorporated for an 18-month period for a fee of $1,528 per annum. And 3, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to finalise the terms and execute the agreement with Fusion Combat Academy Incorporated. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Money, seconded. Councillor Cornish. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried. Val? 9-0. Thank you. User agreement, item 15.3 for the Derby Amateur Swimming Club. The recommendation on my agenda is in page 159. and reads that Council 1 endorses the discounted fees applicable to the user agreement with Derby Amateur Swimming Club. 2, approves the entering into a user agreement with Derby Amateur Swimming Club for an 18-month period for a fee of $1,200 per annum. And 3, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to finalise the terms and execute the agreement with the Derby Amateur Swimming Club. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Galt, seconded Councillor Umbergai. Questions or clarifications, councillors? There being none, I put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried 9-0. 15.4, User Agreement 2627 for the Derby Tigers Football Club. The recommendation is on page 188 on my agenda, and we note that Councillor Money, do you want to stay for this one or leave before it? Yep, thank you, Councillor Money. The recommendation then is that Council 1 endorses the discounted fees applicable to the user agreement that will be entered into with the Derby Tigers Football Club Inc. 2, approves entering into a user agreement with Derby Tigers Football Club Incorporated for a 2-year period for a fee of $1,444 per annum. And 3, authorises the Chief Executive Officer to finalise the terms and execute the agreement with the Derby Tigers Football Club Incorporated. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Galt, seconded Councillor Cornish. Any questions or clarifications? There being nil, all those in favour? Carried 8-0. Item 16, Development Services, 16.1, Bushfire Risk Management Plan Endorsement. Recommendation is on page 220 and reads that Council adopts the draft Shire of Derby West Kimberley Bushfire Risk Management Plan 2025 through to 2027 as attached. Do I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Davis, seconded Councillor Cornish. Any questions or clarifications? There being none, can I ask everyone in favour to raise their hands, please? Carried 8-0. Item 17, Infrastructure, 17.1, Endorsement of Fitzroy Crossing Airport Proposed Upgrade. Recommendation is that Council endorse the report by Aerodrome Management Services to undertake the redesign of the Fitzroy Crossing Airport and support the approach taken within the report. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Cornish, seconded Councillor Ross. Any questions or clarifications, councillors? There being none, I put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried 8-0. Councillors, item 18, under urgent business, I would like to put forward a motion from the President for consideration here tonight. Preamble for this, councillors, is that council, as a matter of respect, note the passing of Mr. Sam Lovell OAM, a truly incredible man who dedicated his time to sharing his knowledge and developing Aboriginal tourism for our region and the state. As the recipient of the Sir David Brand Award in 1988, Sam and his wife Rosita played a major role in showcasing the Kimberley and our history to the world. The recommendation I would like you to consider and approve tonight is 1, agree to waive charges for hire of the Civic Centre in relation to the funeral service for the late Mr Sam Lovell OAM, set down for Friday the 23rd of January 2025 at 3 p.m, noting that the $500 bond will remain applicable. I do need to ask councillors to keep that date and time confidential at this stage, although it has been locked in. Okay. It will be publicised tomorrow. Item 2, direct the Chief Executive Officer to allocate resources to assist the setup and pack down for the funeral service at the Derby Civic Centre. 3, agree to assist with the provision of chairs and gazebos at the gravesite and waive hire charges for these items. 4, request that the Chief Executive Officer investigate the process required to further bestow honours for Mr Sam Lovell OAM posthumously and provide a report and recommendation to the February 2026 Ordinary Council meeting. I have moved the item. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Galt. Any questions or clarifications? That being the case, I put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried 8-0. Thank you, councillors. Yes. Val, were you indicating something or were you just voting?
Yep, just voting.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillors, item 19, matters for which the meeting may be closed. We have one confidential item. So I will ask members of the public. Yeah, I will seek a mover and a seconder to go close the meeting. Councillor Davis, seconded. Councillor Cornish. Put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 8-0. Thank you, members of the public. The next meeting, 26th of February. Yep. Councillors, the recommendation was that council by absolute majority writes off the rates, ESL, interest and legal charges, balance on assessment 8500101, totalling $80,145.21, and that was passed by an absolute majority of council, for your information. We come to item 20 and 20.1, which is the date of the next OCM, Ordinary Council meeting, is set down for the 26th of February 2026, and I can't believe I just said 2026. That leads us to the closure of the meeting this evening, and I hereby declare the meeting closed. Thank you everyone, councillors, staff and public, for your attention.